Welcome to another episode of Dynamic Diecasters, where this week we're going to continue our Star Wars Build Your Own X-Wing build, with this one being issues 69 through 72. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and get started on issue 69. Welcome back. Like I said before, our fabulous intro to this series, we're going to be working on issues 69 through 72 today of Build Your Own X-Wing. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on issue 69. If you guys watched the last episode, we kind of pretty much, we've already completed the wings. So I think now we're going to be starting to work on the rear fuselage. So in stage 69, we're dealing with the wing mechanism support. So we're going to need the structure inside the rear fuselage that houses the motor and the gearbox from stage 68, and the pivots that the 4 X-Wings foils turn to open and close. We'll also need the base that we got and that we built in issue 66. So with that, I'll go through the parts that we received for this stage, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the build. There's not many parts. There's like 4 different pieces. So the first one is the wing mechanism support. Then we've got an end brace right here. Then we've got 4 wing pivot rods. And then lastly, we've got 6 XW08 screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what we did when we get back. See you in a few seconds. And that was it for stage 69. So actually, we didn't do a whole heck of a lot. So if you remember the piece from stage 66 that I referred to in the beginning, that's this bottom piece. So all we did was we took the piece, the wing mechanism we received in this stage, we added the end brace support right here, and then we attached it to the part from stage 66. The wing pivot rods we received in this stage, we didn't do anything with yet. It says we'll be using them in a later stage. Not sure when that is, might be here shortly. But with that, we'll go ahead and move on to stage 60, or 70, I mean. And with that, it looks like we'll be doing another build of an electric motor and gearbox. So this one will be the electric motor and a set of 5 gears that reduce the speed of the droid actuator that makes R2-D2's head rotate. And there's also a micro switch that controls how far it turns, plus electrical contacts to make his lights come on. So that's what we'll be working on in this stage. So we'll go through the parts first, and obviously I'll get started on the build after that. So with that, we'll go ahead and go through all the parts. You guys remember in the last X-Wing episode, I built another gearbox, so there's more than one, obviously, with this build. A lot of screws on this part, so, and then there's springs and all types of stuff. So we'll see. So first part is the gearbox cover. So this looks pretty much like the other one. There's some slight differences, but not much. Here's the gearbox cover. Then we've got a gearbox casing, which I don't recall there being a gearbox casing in the last gearbox that I put together. I have a motor mount right here. Next, we have the droid actuator, which is this piece right here. We've got a contact housing, which is this piece right here. And then a contact cover, which is this piece here. And then we've got the gears, which there's an actuating gear in here and then 3 reduction gears. There's a driving pinion also in there, and then lastly a spindle. Here's the electric motor. We've got 2 contact springs. They're kind of put together right now. Well, now they're not. They're separate now. But so we've got 2 of those. Then we've got the droid contacts right here, and then we've got the another one right here. So that's one of them. Here's the second one. And then we've got 8 XW08 screws. We've got 3 XW09 screws, and then we've got 2 XW10 screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on this stage of the build, and I'll show you what we did in this stage when we get back. And that was it for stage 70. So we basically built the gearbox, which you can't see any of the gears, but they're inside this box right here. We installed the motor, the electric motor to it, but then we also created the electronics. So here's the micro switch right here that we installed. And then we also put together the contact section over here. So this is a positive and negative lead. And then this is the droid actuator piece right here. So I'm assuming when it goes in the X-Wing, it's gonna sit like this because the robot's probably gonna, or R2-D2 is probably gonna be on top of this because this part rotates. So that's what we did in stage 70. So I'll put that off to the side. Then we'll go on to stage 71, which, look, there's a bunch of metal pieces in this one. So I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but it looks like it's the rear fuselage assembly. So the parts provided are the first pieces of the metal cage that forms the framework of the rear fuselage. Plus there's a switch that controls the power from the batteries. It says we'll keep these until later on, as the first job is to connect the electronics and attach the wings to the internal support. So it looks like we're going to be attaching wings to probably this piece in this stage. So it'll start to actually come together, and you'll see the wings that I actually built previously look to get attached. So, all right, from that, we'll go ahead and go through the parts, and then we'll get started on this stage. There's not very many pieces in this one. I'm amazed at sometimes when I go through these parts in a lot of the builds that I do, that the logic on why they do things when they do it. It's almost like they have to fill, to justify the cost of each issue, they have to fill it with something. Because, like, I don't know why they send parts that you're not going to do anything with for like stages down the line. So like for this right here, this is a base frame. Then we've got the lower rear frame. Then we've got the lower mid frame. And then we've got a right side and a left side frame. So as you can see from that, I don't think I can do much with that part. At this point anyway. Why send that? You'd think you could send it all on one stage, but I don't know. Here's the main power switch that I referred to before, and then there's 3 XW01 screws. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started on the issue, or the stage, and I'll show you what we did when we get back. See you in a few seconds. So here's what it looks like after stage 71. It's actually starting to come together as a freaking X-Wing. So we installed all the wires that we could onto the circuit board. We mounted the circuit board. We also mounted the gearbox assembly, and then we mounted it to the rear fuselage, and obviously mounted all 4 X-Wings that we had built previously. Now, if you notice, the laser cannons are not on the ship currently. They mentioned that to make it simpler during this stage to take them off. So that's what we've done currently at this point. But as you can see now, it's really coming together as a ship. Obviously, we don't have the front part yet, but we're only about halfway through the ship. With that, I'll go ahead and put that off to the side. It said we'll be testing motors and lighting in this stage. We obviously didn't use any of the rear fuselage parts that we got in the last stage. And I don't think we used one of the screws, because the XW01 screw that we got, we did not use. So with that, we'll move on to stage 72, which is the final stage in today's episode. And it's more of the pieces of the rear fuselage assembly. I'll go through the parts and then I'll show you what we did at the completion. But it looks like, looking at the beginning of the instructions, we're going to be pulling stuff in from earlier stages. Like, looks like one of them's from stage 37, the front part of the ship. So with that, we've got the lower front frame right here. Then we've got the left base strut, the right base strut, the left side strut, and the right side strut, which are these 4 pieces here. Then lastly, we've got 8 XW01 screws and 6 XW02 screws. So with that, I'll go ahead and complete this stage of the build, and I'll show you what we did afterwards. See you in about 30 seconds. And that was it for stage 72. We actually didn't do a lot in that stage, actually. It was more testing the electronics, which at this point I'm having issues with all of it. Full disclosure, I got kittens recently, and they kind of messed up a lot of the wiring of the wings that I had. I had them stored in a room, and they messed with a lot of them. So I think that's partially why nothing's working. I might have something wrong in the remote, I don't know. I'll work on that outside of this, and then in the next episode of the X-Wing, I'll hopefully have everything resolved, and we'll be able to show more of the functionality of what's going on, because I'll do that in the next episode. So we have a lot of the attachments. So in this case, the droid motor would sit right in the back, or right here in the front of because right now you're looking at the back of the X-Wing, obviously, because those are the engines. And then took the cannons off for the assembly, but they would face out this direction. I have the nose assembly here because I was testing. This is where the remote for the actual remote control, the infrared, is placed, is on the bottom of the nose. And then this is the landing gear switch. So this would actually open up when you get ready at landing. You can actually press a button on the remote to do that. But like I said, when I went to test that, nothing worked. So I'm gonna have to put in a call to Deagostini. Hopefully I'll be able to get replacement wires for all the wings, because all of them had some type of issue related to the wings. The other stuff didn't. That's what makes me think maybe I have something wrong in the remote control, so it wasn't triggering any of the stuff to go on. But 72 was kind of we had parts, but we didn't do anything with them. So I'm gonna have to put those to the side for later on in one of the next episodes. So hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. At least like now, like I said, we've got more of a look to an actual X-Wing at this point versus what it's looked like in the previous episodes, because we've been working on these type of things. But the next episode, I'm not sure if it's going to be a Ghostbusters one or a DeLorean. I can't remember my order on which ones I do first. I think this is the 4th build, so the first build was Ghostbusters, so I think the next build is going to be a Ghostbuster one, or the next episode. So if you guys like this stuff and you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel, because you'll see more of these coming out. Like I said in the last episode, when this one will continue, I have all the boxes for this one, so this one will be completed. But because of the Eagle Moss stuff, we've had obviously the rest of them, the DeLorean, the Ghostbusters Ecto-1, and the Enterprise build all got stopped. So I've got one box, I think, from Ghostbusters left, and a modification box. So that'll be 2 episodes of Ghostbusters remaining. Then I've got 1 DeLorean box, and then I think I've got 3 Star Wars boxes, or Star Trek boxes. So in about 3 months, well, for Ghostbusters in 2 months, for DeLorean 1 month, I won't have any videos on the channel related to those builds coming out for the foreseeable future until Eagle Moss starts again, or until another company takes over what Eagle Moss was doing. You'll continue to see the Star Wars one, but to replace the Ecto-1, it'll be the Knight Rider kit, the kit car from Knight Rider. To replace DeLorean, it'll be the Titanic, and then to replace the Enterprise, for the time being, it'll be one of the solar system build that my son hasn't started yet. So that'll come to the channel, and then at some point, I think in 2023, there will be Optimus Prime starting on the channel. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoy this stuff, and if you do, go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and then hit that bell so you get notified when our new videos come out. But for all of us at the Heart of Geek, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.